Good evening and welcome to All for United WFC. It's the Ben and Matt Saturday Night Live. We are live this week. No pre-records this time. And we've got John Foster joining us for the first time. I believe this is your first time on a Saturday night, isn't it, John?
It is. It's took how many months to be invited on your show, Ben? You know,
I know, mate. I'll hang my head in disgrace, lad.
It's a cracking show, though. I do love watching it. I'm usually in the bath when I watch you, Ben. To be honest, it's usually like a bit of a Saturday night. I'm usually just chilling, and I usually put my laptop in the bath and watch you guys. So it's great to actually
dangerous that.
That is dangerous.
Pre-warning for those at home. Don't recommend. And the other thing is, John, we've struggled for a translator, you see. It's only when me and Penny have perfected the accent, we've had to tune in a bit more.
Good evening, John. Good evening, Robert, in the comments already. Nice to see you boys. Punctual as always. Matt, how are you, pal?
Yeah, well, I'll start that one again. I was gonna say good, but tired and yeah, it is what it is. I was out last night, to be fair, mate. So
karaoke.
Yeah, I was feeling it a bit today. I tell you what, mate, the people in that bar loved my rendition of Wonderwall. Honestly, mate, they were lapping it up. But that's a story for another day. But chilled one today, mate. You know how it is. Get the coffees and yeah. But apart from that, I'll survive. I'll last the show.
Good lad. Good. That's what I like to hear. Before we get into the Rangers game, before we get into any of that stuff, John, was it your first time on the Barmy Army bus, by the way, travelling to a game?
Yeah, I've been to 2 or 3 away games. Loved it. I know the journey was long. I know it was a bit of a long journey. What was it, about 5.5 hours or something? But you know, let's be honest. If you're going to make a 5.5 hour journey, how else would you rather want to spend it than listening to Nat singing a few songs and this, that, and the other? No, it was great. It was from the moment I left the house to something like 6:30 to getting to Craney's area. It's about 9:30, 10ish to meeting the rest of you at about 10:30, and all the way up to Scotland for 4 o'clock, and then it was just a long, enjoyable day that we just didn't want it to come to an end. And even on the way home at like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, I was still blasting tunes just because I was still pumped. And you know, I think I probably would have made another video at 3 o'clock in the morning when I got back if I thought about it. No, it was such a great day. As for the actual Barbie bus itself, absolutely brilliant. Thank you to Napi, first time I've ever met him, who done the driving for us, took the pressure off me and the rest of us. And yeah, it was just a great all-round day.
Absolutely. Matt, I'll come to you now, mate. I know you've been privileged enough during when most of us have been locked down to go and watch football live, when you'll be doing your various different stuff for your presses and everything, and for your for everybody else's own entertainment on this channel as well. This is the first time we've seen United live in a long time. How did it make you feel? Going through, I wouldn't seem to say it wasn't really a turnstile, was it? But going through, get your ticket ripped. Obviously, you didn't have your ticket because it didn't come in time.
Got it now.
No, you got it now.
Let me get it. Look, see ya.
See, look.
A little bit late, but look, it is there. Look at that.
But at least you've got a fully intact ticket, though.
Yeah, true. No Wally's ripped it, so that's good.
But yeah. We went through and we all you started hanging your flags up again. What emotions did that bring back to you?
Yeah, buzzing. Do you know what? It wasn't quite what I expected when somebody told me they had a terrace. I wasn't expecting like a garden step, but hey ho. But I think listen, it was good. Like you say, 18 months. Obviously, I did cover games, but it wasn't Man United. So I think just getting back. I think I it's one of them. When we have away games, I always struggle to sleep, and it's the excitement, and it was the same again. And I was just absolute. I don't know, feel like a little kid, but it was just it's coming, and it's like, even though it was short notice, it was planned, and I'm like, great, next week we've got that. And I think just from getting up from John nearly giving me heart failure, turning up at my house an hour early, to getting on that bus, and I think I might need some hearing aids now because Natalie's volume on that was mad. It was louder than it was, and I had a speaker above my head. But listen, that's just the chaos, isn't it? And this is how we tell these stories. It's just that and the dodgy sense of geography when we thought it was half an hour away, and Hell kindly corrected us and said, actually, mate, you're about an hour and a half away, and here was us like, oh yeah, we're half an hour away with these dodgy navigators, but. Yeah, it's just one of them, isn't it, pal? And this is what we like. We can come on here, we can talk about it. give people an insight that maybe haven't been on the bus before. And yeah, and then the game, which obviously we'll get into, was again very pleasing. Whole day, good trip. Got back late, but that's just what you do in it. That's football. That's that's supporting the players and the team as we have done since day one. So yeah, listen, we've got one game out of the way now. We've sort of got the silliness out of the system. So I'm glad we've had time to do that before the Reading game. It's just good because pre-season there's no pressure, so we can sit there and just stand there in our case and just enjoy it. You know what I mean? If we won, we won. If we didn't, we didn't. It was just fitness and form and seeing the players. But yeah, good experience overall in Glasgow, and it was warm.
Yeah, and it didn't rain.
No, I just didn't get my battered Mars bar, which was a shame. I had to go for the waffles instead, but they were good. So.
And Gareth, he actually had his proper flag this time. He didn't have the
yeah, no, I didn't take the reserve flags, Gareth. I had to debut the Lessie one, so it's a big 8 foot by 5 foot. So my 6 foot ones stayed here. Yeah, there wasn't enough room anyway. To be fair, the bloody
no, there wasn't, to be honest
it was a terrace. It was literally like a bloody school line when you let the kids in at the door in the morning. It was that small, but it is what it is.
John, I'll come to you, pal. What do you make of the atmosphere? I said to you backstage, for me, I think maybe Rangers were a little bit disappointed because I don't think that was the loudest we've ever been. I think it was quite subdued. And I even said, I think Natalie, for all her, we always know that Natalie always gets really, really hyped for these games. But I think she even had a quiet one. I think we're just in awe of seeing Manchester United women playing again. What's your take on it, mate?
Two things. I think, so the first point is kind of what you said there, Ben, about us just looking around and just taking it all back in again, seeing our new players' faces for the first time, just checking things out, checking tactics out, trying to spot Skinner on the opposite side of the pitch and seeing who was on the bench and all this kind of stuff. I think that was part of it, but another part of it, don't forget that there wasn't many of us. I've said that's probably about 10% of what we can get at LSV in a couple of weeks' time. So as for Natalie, I mean, she almost never stopped singing, but she was pretty much by herself in the second half. I think, we all sang with her the first half, but, there wasn't many of us compared to a lot of the games that we've been to in most games. So, if Skinner was happy with that at the end of the game, then God knows what he's going to be like when he actually sees us in a home game with lots of notice. So, yeah, I still enjoyed the atmosphere, but there's nothing better than being at LSV on that back row, surrounded by, 5 or 6 rows of us, and it's that was a warm up. Honestly, Ben, let's be honest, that was a warm up, and I think that's the way I'm kind of looking at it. Even though that was our first game back and I enjoyed it, it was still the Reading game is the official first day back. It's like when you have a grand opening, that was a soft opening, but this is going to be the grand opening in a couple of weeks' time.
How does that compare to your grand opening, John?
Well, I had a grand opening at work. Yeah, but that's
see, for those that don't know, John had a grand opening at his work the other day, and he was getting all the big people down, weren't you? But I bet you didn't make it on TV that day, like you did Thursday.
No, I made it onto Yammer. If anyone knows what Yammer is, that's like a social networking site. But that's about it. No, but no, not quite as good as the one at work. But no, look, it's just great just to actually. It was like it broke us in gently, but it's also brought the players in gently as well. So don't forget, it was the first time that they was playing in front of fans. I don't know how many was there. Would you say like about 500, maybe? I would.
Yeah, roughly.
500. So
yeah.
maybe.
I tell you what, though, I think the atmosphere would have been more raucous had Rangers not had a men's game at 8:00 in the Europa League. I think they would have. I think they would have had a fair few more down there. Probably making a lot more noise. And let's be fair, though, as you said, though, John, it's only even if it's probably even less than 10% of us. You think there's a lot of regular away goers that are missing as well, due to working commitments, and obviously this was all last minute as well. So people struggling to get time off work and struggling to get other things sorted to get to the matches. So, we were usually really loud on away days, But as you said, though, I think it's more of a taster. I think, let's be fair, though, we was all looking forward to seeing a new players, new manager, the tactics, the formations. And as you said, though, I think we was trying to take it all in and everything, But I definitely think that It will get better. It will always get better.
Can I just say as well, though, for the people that didn't come, we did have some new people come as well, didn't we? And some new people on the bus, so myself included when it comes to the bus. But we don't need to name them all. But, you know, there's some faces there that we've been chatting to on Twitter that we've never been to a game with before. And they came. So, you know, that was great to see. So, obviously, we get that new support. You put that with the existing support as well. It's going to be banging this season.
Absolutely. I'm just wondering who this Hannah is, by the way. You and your bird, Hannah. Oh, yeah. But anyway, Matt, I know you want to come across for the. I'll come across back to you, Matt. You said you want to quickly jump on the atmosphere, mate.
Yeah, I was just going to say, obviously, like John was saying, there wasn't many of us and it was last minute. But I think the other thing is as well, you know, those of us that were there probably knew most of the songs. And I think the other fans that were maybe local or new, you know, obviously we didn't take songbooks because, you know, they need to be printed out and updated. But, you know, again, it's like, it's sort of testing it out, isn't it? Like I think you said, John, didn't you? Know, Karen hadn't been before and was new to it. And again, it's just about finding that balance, you know, between, like you said, Benny, like looking out for players and who's doing what and just in awe of being back versus, oh, actually, well, do you know what? We need to actually teach everybody the songs and bring songbooks, which comes, you know, it's not a problem. It's just, for me, like you said, that could have been a reason why maybe there was the ones that were there, and then some of us joined in. Don't get me wrong, but some of the other chaps maybe thinking like, "Well, actually, I've never heard this one. I need to hear it to know how it goes." But like I said, it'll improve.
Sorry, that's just a good reason to get yourself on the Bowie bus, isn't it? You know, when you're on there, you know, we
learn on the way up.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
everybody's seen the videos, John.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and just a shout out to yourself there, Matt, for looking after the socials on that day because I thought you did a fantastic job, and the interaction on that day, you know, was fantastic across Twitter and Insta. So thank you for that, Matt.
Pleasure. I think as well, you know, we've not sung in 18 months, or not apart from we've been out partying and that, so not sung properly. So that's another. Just warming up the vocal cords, you see.
That's it. LSV, it'll be a total different ball game. Absolutely. Stu Woolley, nice to see you, pal. I know this one. I appreciate I'm late. You may have answered this already. Who was the stand-up performer on Thursday? We will get to that, mate. You have not missed that. Trust me on that one. We were just for a quick recap, mate. We're just going on about the atmosphere and how John found his first time on the Barmy bus, the minibus that we travelled up to Scotland. It's his first time on, and how Natalie deafened us all with her music and her singing. But, you know, that's all part of the experience of the Barmy bus, ladies and gents, for those who have not been on. And if you ever want to go on, trust me, you'll have the time of your life. So get yourselves booked on for whatever ways you can make. Just keep it all locked onto the socials.
Doing one for Leicester, aren't they, sorry, not John. Doing one for Leicester, aren't they, Ben?
I believe so, pal. Yeah, I believe so.
Man United travel.
Yeah. But just keep it all locked to social media, and then if not, shout out Natalie. She'll always point you in the right direction. Shout out Matt; he'll point you in the right direction, or shout out any of us, we'll point you in the right direction, really. But moving on to the game itself, I didn't want to really sound a bit nasty, but I said it quite out loud quite a few times. They were shocking. They're just typical Scottish football. I'm sorry, but it's just shocking. The levels are shocking. I didn't see too much in them at all. There was no fight in them for a start, and I'm sure these are further ahead in pre-season because they played. I think you mentioned it, Matt, cup games and Chelsea and all that. So, Matt, I'll come to you first, pal. What do you make of that Rangers team, first and foremost?
Can I say shite like you?
Well, I've said it. I've tried to be a bit more polite.
Is that allowed?
But yeah.
Do I have to contribute to your swear jar then, do I? No, I think the thing was, right, on Tuesday we had Sophie on the show, who is a Rangers fan, and she was sort of saying, you know, they were bad at the back, and I said, well, you know, we've been a bit susceptible, but my days, I didn't think they were that bad. When she said bad, I thought, you know, a couple of mistakes. But I don't know if that's sort of a disservice to ourselves, and we'll get into that, you know, in a bit when we talk about United. But I think from a Rangers point of view, I think she was number 7, that Brogan Hay. She looked good, and she was somebody that Sophie said to watch out for. Sam Kerr on the right wing until somebody flattened her and she got took off was looking okay. But apart from that, they didn't offer much, did they? I think they had another centre-back that looked half okay, if you can call it that. But I was surprised for a team that finished third, and I know you say, oh, you know, like Scottish League and that, and, you know, but I think, for me, I've seen, you know, Championship sides better. And again, I'm probably doing a disservice to Championship sides there. You know, I don't want to lay into Rangers, but, I mean, I can't remember, other than maybe one, I think Sophie Bagley had to catch and she dropped it and then recovered. I think that was pretty much the only attempts on goal. Maybe a couple hit over. Mary looked like she was freezing, stood there in goal for however long she got. But yeah, just from a Rangers point of view, disappointing because we could have had more goals as well. Mm-hmm. Let's not kid ourselves. You know, we worked into some fantastic sort of shooting opportunities, and I think, but for a couple of final passes which will come eventually, you know, we were pretty good. But yeah, I was shocked at actually how bad Rangers were, to be fair.
And we never got a second game either, did we? Really? You know,
I still feel that team on Thursday, you know, there'll be players to come in that will be starting against Reading. So I wouldn't even say we're at full strength. You know, I think to be fair, you know, you look at it that Tooney obviously come back from the Olympics, didn't play much. We've got Jackie to come back as well. You know, Leslie wasn't there, Martha Thomas wasn't there, Hayley Ladd wasn't playing. You know, so there's so many people to come back and to work their way into fitness that actually potentially you could call that maybe half of it a B team. But yeah, anyway.
John, me and Matt being a bit too unpleasant, I think is the word I'm looking for, towards Rangers, or do you think that's that we've hit the nail on the head? I just want to get your perspective on Rangers.
Yeah, so Skinner hit the nail on the head. He said it in a more polite way, didn't he? He says that Rangers were very disciplined and they made it hard for United. Look, like I said, the fact that we didn't get out of second gear when we still managed to score 5 and we made so many substitutions, and as Matt says, we didn't have the strongest starting 11. Rangers weren't the best, but I think you have to give credit to ourselves as well. You know, we kept the ball really, really well. We did move it very quickly. You could see the fluency between the triangles on the wing, and then when Kirsty Hansen was coming onto the inside and swapping over with Lucy Stein, I think you have to give a lot of credit to us, the way that we was moving the ball, our confidence on the ball. We wasn't giving that ball away, and obviously if Rangers haven't got the ball, then they're not going to do anything with it. I think Rangers had a period of play where, you know, we kind of just like stepped off them a little bit, but they didn't do anything with it. So you can't really go praising Rangers really at all. You know, when you lose 5-0 at home against a team that wasn't even at full strength, then you can't really go praising them, can you? But let's be honest, we would much rather go to a game where we score 5 than it be a tough 1-0 win. So yeah, I just think we just need to take that excitement away with us, and we did. We'd much rather see 5 goals. And obviously, you got the goal scorers going across the bottom there, and we could talk about those because all of those had a great game, and a lot more did as well.
Matt, I'm just trying to find a positive from a Rangers point of view. You know, like Stu Woolley said there, you can only play what's in front of you.
Yeah, so absolutely.
Go out, score 5 and learn. I don't know, man. I was expecting something a bit more from them. Am I maybe being a bit... It's like I'm right, it says here as well, if I may bring this one up. Didn't we beat Glasgow City 4-0 last year in a Champions League side? But then again, Gareth did say Celtic beat Levante, or gave Levante a really good run for the money in the Champions League. So am I maybe being a bit disrespectful to Scottish football by saying it's absolutely shocking?
I don't think so. Listen, I'm as people know, I'm quite critical of some leagues, you know, over others, and not everybody likes it. And, you know, it's fair enough. At the end of the day, you know, it's an opinion. But I think it's, from a Rangers point of view, I think for me, Lizzie Arnott looked like, I mean, listen, we spoke about this and we said she's going to have a point to prove. She looked lively, you know, she's getting herself about, trying her best. I mentioned the other two earlier, you know, Sam Carey got about 20 minutes. Brogan Hay looked good, but there was so much room down the wings. You know, I was surprised that they must have seen that every time we got the ball, it went wide. And for whatever reason, they just didn't deal with it. I don't know whether that was, you know, lack of quality, but the fullbacks seemed to be very narrow and tucked in. And it almost became like a central back 4 from their point of view, which opened tons of space. But I don't know. Yeah, somebody comments there about Rangers were better last week against Chelsea. I mean, they did.
Chelsea were poor.
Well, I mean, listen, Chelsea still had the likes of Harder, Payne, and Cuthbert. So, I mean, listen, Chelsea conceded a goal and they only scored 3. So, I don't know. I don't know what to say. I don't know whether they just respected us too much and that wasn't their game. It's hard to know because I've not seen anything at all, to be honest, of Rangers. You know, I've seen Glasgow games. I've watched quite a lot of Hibs when they were a decent side and they were sort of winning quite a lot of things. Saw the odd couple of Celtics, but nothing really Rangers. And I don't know. I don't know whether I expected more or not. It's like I said, it's difficult to say, but it's what it is. You know, like Stu says, you beat what's in front of you, you get what you want out the game, and thanks, and off we go home. It was a good day out anyway. So we'll not slag them too much. We'll thank them for the hospitality, even though they didn't send me a ticket until days after the game.
He's still sorry about that ticket, isn't he?
I had to tweet that, mate, because it was just funny, man. It was just jokes, and I thought, you know what, sod it, we'll have a bit of a laugh with it and make light of a bad situation.
The funny thing that I'm not going to mention who it was, but there was one of the Rangers coaching staff came over after the game. Me and Matt was standing there when some of our players came over in the middle bit. I'm not going to say who it was, but one of the Rangers coaches says to somebody in the stands, shook his hand, and there was about a 1 minute conversation. And one of the Rangers coaches said, "Did you enjoy that? It was good, wasn't it?" I think it was probably someone in the crowd who's maybe their first time in women's football, maybe. And he said, you know, will you come back again? And he just lost 5-0. You've just lost 5-0. The coach actually was praising the game and the whole. So I think, Matt, something that you just said there, did they respect us too much? Maybe they knew that there was going to kind of get rolled over a little bit, but they just wanted the experience and wanted to run out or whatever. I really don't know, but there was nothing in that game to me that made me think that Rangers was really ever going to think that they was going to win us. And hearing your Tuesday show, Matt, where they started to say that Jane Ross was going to be the biggest threat, you know, that kind of made me think.
Better.
Yeah, Lizzie done really well. Yeah, Lizzie was all right, wasn't she? Yeah. But I think that was probably just Rangers' mentality. They knew it was going to be tough, even though it was a pre-season friendly. I think we pretty much had that one before we turned up, didn't we?
I think it was one of them, though, wasn't it? Like, we'd never played them. They'd never played us. They maybe didn't know what to expect, bearing in mind, obviously, they'd done okay against Chelsea. And I think, listen, you're not going to come on as a fan, and say, oh, yeah, you're going to smash us. So, you know, fair play. But I don't know. Just expected a little bit more. But like you say, John, you know, it was one of them. If the coaching staff was saying that, then...
Yeah.
Just one more thing before I move off Rangers completely and get onto the game. What did we make of Jane Ross? Because I thought she was absolutely anonymous for somebody that possibly had a point to prove against us, you know. Where she said Lizzie had a decent-ish game, you know, did what she could, but I thought Jane Ross was terrible.
Go on, John.
No, she just didn't really have much opportunity anyway, to be honest. It was almost kind of seeing her in a red shirt. If she didn't have the service, or if she was marked out of the game by 2 centre-backs who was in full control, let's be honest, Mannion was fantastic for her. It's the first time that we've seen her. No, Jane Ross didn't really do much, but I'm not going to knock Jane Ross too much because I just think that she didn't really have, I don't think she had many chances at all. And as soon as she did pick up the ball, we was on her anyway. So I think that was just Rangers in general. I think he could have had quite a few different strikers up there, but I think they would have all had a bit of a tough time because, you know, when you played so much, you know, you need something really special, you know, on the outside of the box when you do pick it up to pretty much turn and shoot right away. And she just isn't that kind of striker, is she? So I think there's credit where it's due from the Man United point of view, I think.
Absolutely. Now we'll move it on anyway because I know exactly what Matt's going to say about Jane Ross, and it's not pretty.
I'm complimentary of Jane.
Usually. But never mind about Rangers. Matt, who's our standout performer? Because I don't want to delay Stu Woody any longer. He wants to know who's the standout performer in that game.
Sorry, Stu. Listen, I could give it to a couple of players, but I'm going to say Kirsty Hansen. You know, I think for me, you know, 3 games, 3 goals. She's got assists. I mean, literally, she was unplayable. You know, I think listen, we know her work rate is excellent, and I just from her on Thursday, I saw that extra, I think over and above everybody else. She lost the ball. She was like a whippet trying to get it back. Getting in. We know she's physical, and I think this is a different player. We've always talked about, is maybe she a confidence player? Would it be fair to say that? Possibly not. But I think for me, with a bit of confidence and belief from coaching staff and the management, and belief in her own ability, because I know sometimes she just beat herself up over performances, I think she's unplayable. She really is. And I know, obviously, Benny, you love Kirsty to bits, and I'm sure you'll talk about her shortly. But I think for me, she just about shaded a couple of other players. And yeah, fair play. If she keeps that form up, she has to be the first name in the team sheet for Reading, and tear them a new one as well. But I think, it'll be good if we can keep that up into the season. Happy days. I'd be absolutely delighted.
John, who's your standout performer, mate? Are we sticking with Kirsty Hansen, or you go someone different caught your eye, mate?
I will say Kirsty, but I'll say somebody else afterwards as well, just to
sure.
a bit of variety. But yeah, I think I'll be quite open. The fact that Kirsty Hansen, for me, has been the player of the match for 3 games on the trot now. Obviously, we didn't really see much of the second game, but obviously when you score and get an assist, then obviously you should be up there. But I was really praising Hansen up on yesterday's show and on Twitter as well, because she just looked in full control. When she picked the ball up, she knew that she had Rangers' number, didn't she? So she had loads of space. She created herself space. Her movement on and off the ball was really good. And when you can actually see them up close, you can see all the step overs and the trickery and how quick she is with the ball. And it just goes unnoticed a little bit on TV, because you don't get to see that close up, do you, on MU TV? So yeah, for me, Kirsty was up there. If I had to name another one, I think probably our captain. It's probably I saw Katie Zellin play for quite a while. I kind of appreciate it against weaker opponents, but as people have been saying in the comments, you can only play who you're up against, and she scored 2 great goals. The free kick, I called the free kick. When I saw her put the ball down, I was thinking, yeah, that's definitely going to be at least on target. The goalkeepers was nowhere, was she? But her second goal was fantastic. That lob over the keeper. You can't really call it a lob. It was just a powerful, well-placed shot. So for me, I'd just like to say Katie Zellin as well.
Absolutely. John Fry's going for Kirsty Smith. I've been that coming back up. Impressed John Fry there. I've got to shout Kirsty Hansen out, but she still doesn't think, by the way, that was her best performance. She's still very overcritical of herself this pre-season, and I'm like, are you mad? But honestly, that's how driven she is. She wants to be the best. She wants to be better than what she is. She's driven to get where she wants to be in the game of football. And that's what I like most about her, that drive, that determination. And listen, if she can carry this form on into the WSL, mate, she's going to be one hell of a player to watch next season. And I might have said it last season, and I said this to loads of people. I did that video on my own channel last season that, I reckon last season was going to be a season, but I think this season more so, full preseason behind the belt, under her belt and everything, and she's been flying. And I think working with Marc Skinner has also improved her as well. The way that Skinner likes to play football as well, I think it suits players like Leah Golden, it suits players like Kirsty Hansen down to a T. So, yeah, just keep it up, and hopefully more player of the match performances to come when it really matters in the league games, in the cup games, as the weeks and months roll by. I'm going to come to the goal scorers now. Of course, the brace goes to the captain. What do you make of her overall performance, Matt? We've heard that John's bigged her up. What have you made of her overall performance and the goals that she scored?
Yeah, listen, it looked a damn sight better than how she performed last year. And, I'm not afraid to say that I was quite critical last year of her performances. But I think, Thursday, she looked a different player. You mentioned, Benny, obviously it was Rangers, and that could be, a factor. It might not be. But I think, it's just one of them. We need competition for places. So obviously it's a fresh slate. And listen, everybody should be stepping up. Everybody should be going out there, giving their best performance to impress the new manager. So obviously, the free kick, listen, we've all seen her hit a free kick. 9 times out of 10 it goes in. So that, and obviously John talked about the second. I think the second one for me was better than the first one, if I'm being honest. I just think to get that precision and the power in the top corner, and so it doesn't go over or wide, I think, you know, fair play. That like I say, that was more unexpected for me than the free kick. But yeah, you know, again, you know, there's things to think about, isn't there? Come the Reading game now in the middle. But yeah, fair play to her for going as she did. Let's see what the next couple of preseason games bring, and then it's ready.
John, how pleased was to see Staniforth on the goal scoring list as well, because he's a player that I think can ship us a few goals this season into our, you know, can boost our goal scoring, especially when now she's fully fit. And again, another player with a full preseason under her belt, and that we should, you know, should reap the benefits this season of a fully fit Lucy Staniforth. How pleased were you with her performance?
On our show yesterday, we really praised Lucy up. I think we got into a conversation as well about Lucy potentially starting ahead of some of our favourites like Jackie, because Lucy's at the moment contributing more goals and more of an attacking threat. You know, if Tooney's not going to play, or if Tooney goes out wide, you know, Lucy could potentially be our number 10 at the start of the season. We know she's got that good relationship with Marc Skinner already, and she's just doing everything right at the moment. She ended the season last season well. She started this one well. And obviously, we know that if Katie's not playing, she can take the free kicks as well. And I think she just brings that experience. She had a good partnership, I think, with Hansen. That they worked really well together with their ones and twos and a few triangles. Andy yesterday on the show said that, are we sleeping on Lucy Staniforth? And I think that's pretty much the way. We don't kind of look at Lucy that much, do we? Because the start of last season, we had all these Galactico signings, and Lucy wasn't. She was more of an experienced WSL signing who didn't get much game time until towards the end of the season. So she kind of goes unnoticed, but I think that was a great signing that, yeah, potentially, you know, we have been sleeping on her a little bit, and that's like we keep on saying it week in, week out. Our midfield six, it could be any of those three who could play, and I think the players that we do end up playing will be based on our opposition. You know, what type of player do we need to break down this opposition? So, you know, I do think that there will be some meltdowns on Twitter this season, because we might put Lucy Stan ahead of Tooney, or we might put Lucy Stan ahead of Jackie or someone like that, because if Lucy's on form and Jackie isn't, or, you know, if we need a specific type of player, then we can see Lucy playing a lot more than we did last season.
And obviously, it's good to always see our favourite player, Leah Galton, get on the goal scoring sheet. And when I say our favourite player, I say collectively as the fan base as a whole, she is one of the most popular players that we have in the team, Leah Galton. How pleasant was it, Matt, to see her on the goal scoring sheet? And because obviously, traditionally, she's sometimes a bit of a slow starter going into the leagues. So, do you expect her to be, with the preseason behind under her belt, fully fit as well, hopefully going into the season? Do you expect her to then fire on this season straight away?
Listen, I hope so. I mean, last season she started a little bit slow, but, you know, it's difficult with Leah. I think it's one of them where we need to manage it carefully, because for all the talent, she does sometimes, in my view, get targeted. You'll see teams double up on her, which is expected because of the quality player she is. And I don't know whether maybe that doesn't help with the injuries, or I don't know. But listen, a fully fit Leah is always a dangerous Leah. For me, the best left winger and left foot in the league. You know, people who disagree, that's fine. But, you know, yeah, I think just seeing Leah back to near her best, you know, I still think obviously she's finding her feet a little bit. And Thursday, you know, listen, she was great, but obviously there's more in terms of her game, and I'm sure she'll probably agree and say that herself, you know. But listen, just getting her back fit, managing her properly, you know, looking after her, and then when it comes to crunch time and it's the league and the cups, then is the time to be sort of analysing her properly. But yeah, listen, you know, can't complain, because, you know, like I say, she had a good game, but we'll see what we get. You know, if she starts the season better than last year, then that's an improvement already. So I'll take that.
I think this is a good way for pre-season. This is one of the reasons why you have pre-season, isn't it? To get the likes of Leah Colton up to that match fitness and get a match sharp. Because no, she wasn't at her best, but she still scored. She still had plenty of the ball, and it was good to see her cutting on that right foot as well. Because we just don't see many of those. Usually, when she's in that position, she'll smash it with the left foot. Whereas this time, she had the confidence to go onto her right foot as well.
Yes, Joe, I'm going to call into tactics and formations in a minute with our kid Max. He loves that type of talk. So we'll go to 2 holding CMs and 4-2-3, 4-2-1-3s and all that in a second. But I just want to come back to you, John, before Matt takes over with the tactical side of things. What do you make of the new players? When I say new players as well, I mean, the players that we didn't get to see last season, like your owners, your Lucy. Obviously, I know we've already spoke about Lucy. Ivana Fuso came on as well a little bit. You know, Thorastottir came on as well. Brilliant! I'll probably butcher the name again, but yeah. But yeah, and obviously Boa Risa, we got to see her play as well. Who stood out? We call them the newbies because I'll mix them in for the people that came in last season that unfortunately couldn't get to play. Who impressed you with the most out of them?
I'm going to say a name. Yeah, I'm going to say a name that we haven't really mentioned on the show, and someone who's gone a bit quiet on Twitter. And I'm going to say Blundell because I think when she came on, we really did see what we was kind of expecting and hoping. You know, getting forward, getting into a lot of space. Me and Matt was talking through the game, the amount of space that we had, that we could have pushed into even more. You know, their fullbacks was nowhere near us. Was giving us so much space, so we could have drove on even more if we wanted to. That's why I was saying. You know, we were only in second gear. If we was really pushing it, we could have really penetrated even more. So I want to give Hannah a bit of a shout out because that performance might have gone a little bit unnoticed. Yeah, and for me, I just want to say Mannion as well. I just think that she looked really controlled and strong at the back. So I'm not going to go through the whole team, but for me, I think Mannion was very strong. You know, if she stays fit, you know, she could be that leader. She could be the talker of between her and Millie, or her and Maria, because you know nothing's for certain anymore, is it? So yeah, really impressed with Mannion, and yeah, I think it's good because obviously I know we was against weak competition, but all of a sudden now we have got them competition for places, haven't we? We've said throughout the whole of pre-season that our goalkeepers, there's competition for goalkeepers, competition for defence, competition for midfield. Not much competition on the wings, but maybe competition up front a little bit as well. With you know, Russo isn't fully fit yet. Will it be Russo? Will it be Martha? Will it be Fuso? She's getting a bit of game time. Tooney started as a striker as well, so there's competition there. So it's quite an exciting time at the moment.
Absolutely, we've still got, as you said, there's still plenty of positions to be looked at. Plenty of players that can play multiple positions as well. You know, they're not just like, for example, Thorastottir is not just a centre half; she can play right back as well. You know, and so there's plenty of other options there. You know, we all know that Millie Turner can play central midfield as well, DM if she wanted to. She played there for Bristol. You know, there is options that Mark can explore. And obviously the goalkeeper situation that was quite talked about on the bus, but I think we'll get into that a little bit later. So I want to come to Matt because everybody seems to be talking about tactics and formations and do we have inverted wingers or the standard and all that, Matt? What do you make of the or what you've seen not only in this game but what we've seen so far in the bits that we've seen live on MUTV? You can't really take too much from the little clips that we have for the games that weren't live on MUTV. But for what you've seen, Thursday night or Thursday evening, and from pre-season as a whole, which we've seen on MUTV, what have you made of how we've been lining up tactically, formations and all that?
Well, I'm going to start with Stu's comment here about 2 holding centre mids. Is this a new style? No, it's a continuation from Casey. The only tweak on that is rather than a 4-2-1-3, it was a 4-2-3-1. And that was something I was critical of under Casey because every time we had the 1 in front of the 3, the 1 was always isolated. Whereas now we've got the 1 behind the 3 and things for me, from the highlights that they put out from Villa that were very, very short, the Liverpool game, which was, like you said, televised, and the Rangers game for me now looks a lot more better, building from the back in transition and going forward than it did under Casey. And I think what I liked about Thursday was there was none of this faffing about pass it sideways, pass it backwards, give it back to goalkeeper, give it back to centre half, give it holding mid, pass it sideways, pass it backwards. It was, can we get 1 and 2 touch football on the front foot and move it quickly, either centrally or wide? Most of the time wide, which is fine, and a lot of the time we were successful with it. And I think for me, that and the pressing game, and I was speaking to Chris Hale at half time, and we sort of had a discussion. I said, we look a lot better now going forward than we've probably ever done. I mean, I'm not going to count the championship because the squad we had for that league was just unbelievable. But in terms of WSL, that for me now is, improvement, and it's, what's the word, satisfying. I'm not as worried now. Under Casey, we're very predictable, playing this team, we'll keep the same tactics, we'll keep the same formation, slightly tweak the personnel. You can't do it. And, I don't want to sound like that's a moan and a criticism, but listen, it's modern day football. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, on that, it was good. To answer Gareth's question, no, we didn't invert the wingers. To be fair, I don't think we needed to. The way Rangers set up, like we talked about before, the fullbacks were very, very narrow. So I think if we'd inverted the wingers, we'd have probably been stifled. And I think maybe that's what they were expecting. They were probably expecting, based on previous videos and games, for Kirsty and Leah to cut in. And actually, fair play to Mark and also those two players, they stayed wide and they're on that touchline. And they were, whipping balls in and things like that. So, yeah, it was good. And then, obviously, saying we're more fluid, difficult to mark up top. I think, although in terms of marking, I'm not sure from 100% because, like John Fry says there, he's talking about Fuso and people in there. And there was little pockets of space, but I think sometimes we maybe over-congested the middle. Carrie Jones came on. And fair play to her, she tried her best, but whether it was passing to her or maybe her, listen, she's only young, but it wasn't always there and it didn't always happen. But listen, that wasn't just her, it happened to Fuso at times, it happened to Tooney. It was one of them where we needed to find those pockets of space, and sometimes there's a slight lack of movement, which left it overcrowding. But I think overall, in terms of more fluid, I'd say definitely. It was 1 and 2 touch, and it was constantly looking to play a forward pass, like I said, as opposed to sort of backwards, sideways. But I mean, you were touching on Blundell, John. I think fair play because she played it right back, and anybody that has seen it, she can play there, but she's predominantly a left back. And she was doing the overlapping runs and getting in there herself. So it was just great. But idea for fluid front three motor, yeah. That was it. I think, like Stu says there, it does take time. And again, in terms of rotating, like those players starting and not starting, I think that's going to have to come as well. Because, you play in a certain way up top. You make a change up top like we did Tooney for Carrie. Carrie's got to then learn what's sort of happening and how the game's going. Same for Ivana. So it's that balance and the rotation. Even rotating on the pitch, if Hansen goes on the left and Leah on the right, again, that comes into play. But I think for me, that although I'm not a fan of two holding, at the minute, it does look okay. It does seem to work. But I do think that for me, if we can, go back to what I tweeted a while ago on All for United when I said a 4-1-2-3, I think 2 behind the front 3 would give us more success. I think it's just another body for sort of the opposition to think about. Listen, 2 holding might be fine against some of the, the better teams. You like the Chelseas where we need to win that midfield battle. But in terms of smaller teams, I would like to see 2 behind the 3 as opposed to 1.
John, what have you made of the way we've set up, pal? I know you don't want to go into it as tactically as Matt and as Stu in the comments go through. But what have you made of it tactically? Do we look more fluid? Are we looking to pass the ball quicker? Because the way Matt describes the way Casey's playing, you think about it now, you sit back and you think about it, yeah, we did play that sideways, backwards. Very much Louis van Gaal football, wasn't it? Sideways, backwards. don't you dare cross the halfway line, go back, give it back to your centre half, What have you made so far of the way, from what you've seen? Well, obviously live on Thursday, and then for what bits of footage that you've seen as well during pre-season, what have you made of Marc Skinner's tactics and formations and way of style of play so far?
I think it's more exciting because I think the pressure can come from all over the pitch. So the way we used to play with Casey, the thing that excited me the most, which was pretty much the only way we would be excited, with a long ball over the top to either Hansen or Galton on the wings. They would run onto it. They'd either find space behind the defender and be one-on-one with the keeper, or you've been relying on Kirsty or Galton to pick up the ball on the wing, take defenders on, and hope to find that cross. Whereas now, yes, the ball's still finding those players, but in different areas, and also more players are getting involved. The centre of midfield, the passing along there is a lot better. So for me, it's a bit more enjoyable because every pass is kind of meaningful. And I know you guys touched on it a bit, like sideward passing. Sideward passing is okay if it leads to something, but sometimes it was like passing the ball for the sake of it, just to keep possession. At the moment, we're actually keeping possession and actually moving forward as well. I think the movement off the ball is a lot better as well. So there's a lot of players now actually getting into space, and that goes from the fullbacks where they're going wider, and then when the fullbacks are picking up the ball, the centre midfielders are coming towards them, and they're rotating a lot more. They're not just staying in their kind of positions that you'd expect them to be in. So playing out from the back is fantastic. And there's a question about Earps or Bagley. I think this is going to be really, really interesting there, because we know Bagley is better with the ball at the feet than Earps, and I don't know if you want to get into this debate either now or a bit later or on another show, but I do think that Earps would probably get the nod at the moment. But if she's struggling with the style of play that Marc Skinner wants to play, then maybe that position is up for grabs.
Yeah, I know Matt said in the private comments there for me to come on to this one about the goalkeepers, and I did touch upon it a bit earlier on the show that there was a lot of discussion back on the bus about the goalkeeper situation, and a lot of people have actually kind of leaning towards Sophie Bagley, the way that she's been performing so far. Matt, I'll come to you because you know Sophie Bagley, and in fact, both goalkeepers, Mary Earps, well, you know them quite well. You've watched them throughout the years. Where's your thoughts lie on this, pal?
Do you know what? I'll be brutally honest. I'm with you two and what everybody said in the bus. I think, listen, I love Mary to bits, and obviously with her being a little bit older, I've seen her a little bit more than Sophie because she's been around longer. But I wouldn't say worry for Mary because, listen, Sophie's a quality keeper, but I can just see Sophie playing against Reading. I really can. And listen, I think the great thing is for me, I've no issues with either keeper this year starting a game. If you'd have said to me last year, Rambo's playing this week, I'd have been a little bit like, okay, maybe lacks the experience. This year, if you say, oh yeah, Sophie's playing, it's like, cool. Do you know what I mean? It's not an issue, and that's what we wanted. We wanted competition for places. We had bits last year all over the pitch, but not great. Certainly not in the goalkeeping department. And I think we've managed to work this well because we've got the loans that the two young keepers needed. Fingers crossed that goes well for them and they can get full seasons worth of games under the belt. But I just do feel that he will be going with Sophie, and I can't put my finger on it. Like there's not something where Mary's dropped a clanger and it's like, actually, do you know what? Give it Sophie. That's not happened. It's just literally been, like you said, maybe for the way he wants to play, or he just obviously feels happy with Sophie at the minute. Then fair enough. But I do feel, and like I say, it kills me because I've got a lot of time for Mary. But I do feel that she will be benched for the first game. But like I say, not a problem for me. That's football.
Matt, how would you kind of deal with it then if you were Skinner with a Birmingham accent? Would you kind of just like go on? I was waiting for you to come out with a Birmingham accent, but maybe that's on a different show. Would you kind of look at the opposition and think, okay, what style of play are we going to play today, and swap your goalkeeper that way, or just kind of settle with your number one and then have your reserve as a cup? Because I sometimes think that you can potentially do more damage swapping your goalkeeper based on tactics. Yeah. But also, if you do take Mary out, and she's not actually done anything wrong just yet, that could also damage her. Like, I'm sure she'll be okay with it, but she'd be a little bit on the downer, wouldn't she? Is there any need to throw Bagley in just yet? Should we wait until Mary Earps makes a couple of clangers and then have a reason to drop her, so to speak?
I mean, listen, it's an interesting, it's an interesting point to make, but I think I fully agree. You can't just swap keepers based on the opposition, or it's not as such a position like defense or midfield or forward where there's so many different. I mean, listen, there's different levels to goalkeeping, in style of goalkeeping, but in terms of, because it's a unique position and there's only one person plays that position. For me, you can't go chopping and change it. It just destabilizes the back line, the whole team, just everything. So for me, I get what you're saying with Mary, but I think if I was Mary and I was benched for that first game, I don't want to use the word I'd be happy, but you're benched based on, not making a mistake. So you're not being punished. It's not like, you've been dreadful in pre-season, bench. Yeah. Yes, it will be disappointing. And, she's talked about being, sacked off from England and the disappointment of that. And for me, again, another debate. For me, that was ridiculous, but other people, again, will tell you otherwise. But I think with United, she will know that Sophie's a quality keeper. She will know that she's coming to be challenged, and she'll also know that actually, do you know what? If I am dropped for Reading, I need to go and be absolute on fire in training, or say to Ian Wilcott, right, what can we work on to get me that number one spot? And listen, that's only of benefit to the team. So yeah, it's one of them. I definitely wouldn't change it in league games unless there was an injury. Cup games, yes, that's a different thing completely, but it's going to be a good battle. That I think that for me is probably going to be one of the most exciting battles of the squad / the season, is that who's going to be that number one, because we've never been in a position. Season 1 we had Chivy and we had Rambo and Bentley, and we've started Rambo and Bentley all the way through. So now we've got a quality keeper. It's like, oh, actually, what's going to happen? But I wouldn't be too disappointed if I was Mary and I was dropped, because like I said, I think maybe Sophie would be the one feeling hard done by if she was dropped for Reading. Having started most of pre-season and done well, it's like, but we'll see. But for me, like I mentioned earlier, it's not an issue as such, but I do look forward to seeing who gets the nod for Reading.
Before I get to Stu Woolley's comments about the goalkeepers in the women's game, is this the same problem? Well, I'll rephrase that. Who has the harder job to keep their goalkeepers happy? Ole Gunnar Solskjaer with David De Gea, Dean Henderson, Tom Heaton. They're the three goalkeepers that that come in and do a job. Or Marc Skinner with Sophie Bagley and Mary Earps. And to broaden on that question as well, do you have to have a set on number one? Because everybody's saying at the minute, Ole needs to come out and say who's number one. Who's going to be his number one going into the season? Because there was times against Leeds United, yes, we won comfortably, we won 5-1. But there's times you see David De Gea comes from crosses, he's not sure, he's backing up against his goal line again. Whereas, if that was Dean Henderson, he's coming and he's claiming them crosses. And he's a bit more vocal at the back and everything. I think defenders like that a bit more. And people are saying now if we get Varane in, that if we're playing higher up the pitch, you're going to have Dean Henderson that's better with the ball at his feet. And I think someone put it in the comments up here somewhere, and I can't quite find it. I think they were saying that Sophie Bagley's better with the ball at her feet as well compared to Mary Earps. Does he have to come out, though, John, and nail it to the mast who is going to be the first choice goalkeeper?
We made this comparison last night on our show, and it's just so similar, isn't it? The fact that our number one goalkeeper for the last few years is the worst one on the men's side and the women's side with the ball at the feet. It's very uncanny, isn't it? The way it's worked out. I don't think you need to come out. I don't think anyone needs to come out. Why do you need to come out and say this is my number one? You're in charge. You don't need to do anything just because the fans want to say it. But I think by picking the same goalkeeper over and over and over again, then you're automatically saying it, aren't you? Regarding Ole, I think Henderson's in a position now where he's going to have a lot of fans on his side. Even though De Gea had a better season last season than he did in previous seasons, De Gea still got a load of fans as well. I don't see a big problem about having two quality goalkeepers. The problem that on the men's side is you're paying a lot of wages for someone that hardly pays. Whereas on the women's side, it's completely different. I think Skinner's probably got a season where he doesn't need to actually make that decision just yet. I think he needs to test. I think he needs to test them both out and then make a decision next season. Whereas Ollie has already had that one season where he's got them both. He's already seen them both, so he might be in more of a hurry to let one of them go or make that kind of decision. I don't think there's any rush at the moment for Skinner. I think he needs to enjoy himself. He's got two good goalkeepers, which is what we wanted as fans. We wanted competition for Herbst. And then we've got Rambo and Bentley. Let's see how they get to on their loan spells, because they're both going to get tested. One at Bristol, one at Birmingham. They're both going to have a lot of game time, which we're not used to seeing our loan players have because of injuries or COVID or something or another. So I think our women's team are in a very strong position. But I do think there will be some questions to be asked and some answers at the start of going into the summer, even down to Bentley and Rambo, because for their benefits, one of them will probably need to leave next season if Bagley and Earp stays.
I think just quickly on that, Benny, as well, if I was Mark, I wouldn't necessarily be giving either of them the label or the title of number one. I think, one, keep your cards close to your chest. I think, and two, no, I'm not from Birmingham, Vincent. That's you, that, bro. Two, I think it'll be good to obviously keep both goalkeepers on the toes. And I think I'd be saying, two number ones, because you wouldn't want to dent confidence and you wouldn't want to sort of tip one over the other. And I know it might sound daft because at the end of the day, yes, it is number one and number two. But I just think from a player's point of view, if Mark goes at it as, you both quality keepers, I'm not going to specifically say you're number one and then go at it that way. I think that might be a better way of maybe managing the player. And Mark talks a lot about getting to know the person, looking after the player. I just think psychologically, if you've not been labelled as number one, like I say, yes, it will become clear because one will play more than the other. But I just think in terms of helping it now with a new number, well, I'm not even going to say number two, with a new goalkeeper coming in that's just as good and brings a different side to her game and attributes, I think that's more beneficial, personally, than saying, right, you're number one, you're number... Do you know what I mean? It'd be like when you're sort of a kid in a race and say, well, you came second, you're number two. It's like, it doesn't always go well. I'm not saying that, it's going to be a disaster or anything like that, or, that they couldn't hack it, absolutely. But I just think from a player's point of view and thinking of the player, that maybe that might be a better way to handle it rather than label them number one, number two, is just don't say anything and just play it out, because the players will know anyway. Like I say, they're not daft at it. So, and
let's be honest, if any manager can have that conversation by what we've seen at the moment and what we're hearing about Skinner's history as a man manager, he will probably be able to handle this situation better than most.
Mm-hmm. Just quickly on this one, Matt. Sure, what he wants to know. The goalkeepers winning his game aggressive. Do they come and claim corners, crosses, or mainly stay on the line?
I'm not going to say it's a sore subject for me, but it was a criticism that I've levelled at our goalkeepers since forming, is that neither of them, Mary was better than Shiv, didn't really come and command their area and claim crosses. That said, there are a few, Ann-Katrin Berger, and I'm sure if David's still in the comments, he'll tell you, probably one of, well, I'm going to say, actually, I'm going to put her above Roebuck as the best keeper in the league. Roebuck comes and claims bits and bobs, as well. Mary, could be improved. Bagley offers that. And I think, it's difficult because for me, there's not a divide, but I think you've got your top end goalkeepers and then you've got kind of everybody else. And I don't mean that in a horrible way, but for me, you've got your elite ones and your best of the best, and then everybody else sort of blends in. And listen, obviously some are going to be better than others, for example, the West Ham goalkeeper, he's going to be maybe say not as good as Sandy McKeever at Everton, which is just facts, But I think, yes, it's a strange one because it's hard to compare the women's to the men's goalkeepers because for me, it's quite different in terms of how they play. And I don't know if that's like the setup, the style of it, the tactics, but it's kind of... It's hard. And I know people are probably thinking, well, hang on, it's goalkeeping, whether it's men's, women's, it's the same. Absolutely. But the game is a little bit, slightly different in that aspect. And I suppose it's like when people compare, this is physical and that's physical and this isn't and that isn't, and technically and tactically and things like that. But I do think, with with the keepers. There is some, like I say, that are outstanding, and some where they could come and claim crosses, or they could be quicker at something else, or somebody could be better with the feet. Gareth says here, easier for Berger to come and claim being taller, I suppose. Yeah, that obviously factors into it. I think this is another thing as well. If you look at the WSL, most of those keepers are between sort of 5'8" and 5'10", which for a goalkeeper is not very big. Sophie Baggerly is quite small for a goalkeeper. Mary's not the tallest for a goalkeeper. Other clubs have got keepers. So I suppose, in that respect, Ann-Katrin Berger would find it easier, obviously. But then again, Ellie Roebuck elevates herself above the rest than others do. So, yeah, it's an interesting debate, but it's one I'm sure I could probably answer better once the season starts, and sort of look at other clubs' goalkeepers in real detail. But I'm sure, again, Stu will be able to, make his mind up when he pops along and hopefully answer his own question.
Right, I know we've been ticking over an hour. I don't really care because I want to get this on it anyway. Because it's one of the topics that I was going to bring up was casting my back to a couple of weeks ago, maybe a few weeks ago. All the negativity around Marc Skinner's appointment on social media, and obviously I lost it a little bit, on that particular show. Fast forward to now, that negativity is rather turned into a lot of positive energy on social media. John, are you surprised that it's changed so quickly in a short space of time?
You have to think who was the people that was being negative. It wasn't the people that go to the games. A lot of them weren't. Don't get me wrong, like of me and Natalie, who didn't know much about Marc Skinner, we was listening to people, but we wasn't just listening. We wasn't just reading Wikipedia. We was listening to people who actually, Birmingham City fans, fans in America. I think at this stage, someone said it. I can't remember who it was, but basically, because Marc Skinner might have done good somewhere, it doesn't mean he's going to do good somewhere else, bad somewhere else, because every club's completely different. Yeah. The challenge at Man United will be completely different to the challenge at Orlando. Marc Skinner's skills could be more suited to the challenge at United than it is at Orlando, and I think it is, because I think we need a manager that's really going to bring these players back together, play as a team and not as a group of individuals. And I think Skinner's a person to do that. And I think we've seen that already. So I think when you actually start looking into a lot of detail, it doesn't surprise me that he's got off to a good start at all. And I'm not about results. I'm not about the way he's treated the players, the way he's the whole package. This isn't just about the results. This is just 3 pre-season friendlies. It doesn't really mean too much just yet. And yeah, look, the stuff on Twitter, it's always going to happen. We could sign another player tomorrow and people are either going to be happy about it or not happy about it. That player plays a game and then obviously the opinions change. That's just social media for you. Let's be honest, we was all at the game on Thursday. We shouted Marc Skinner's Barmy Army quite a few times throughout the game, and at the end of the match, we're fully behind Marc Skinner. I think he knows that. I think most of the fans are, because there's no reason not to be. At least let him lose a few matches before you get on his back. You know what I mean? So for me, I think it's going to be a good appointment. I really do. He's got to deliver, obviously, but at the moment he is. I think he's doing all the right preparation to deliver. He's changing the style of play. He's obviously come in and he's seeing our strengths. He's not just come in with his own style of play and thought to himself, okay, let's do this, even though it's not going to work. Because I think he looked at our players and see what their strengths are, which is a typical man manager. He's getting the best out of the players that he's got. He's not coming like demanding players in regards to transfers. It doesn't look like that's the case, because there's no urgency in getting new players in or getting old players out. So I think he's come in, he's seen the players that we've got. You can see the quality that we've got, that we've all been saying. We've got fantastic starting 11 with 4 or 5 quality subs as well. I think he's going to be happy with what he's inherited here, and he can just make a few tweaks, maybe in January and next summer, and then push on from there. So regarding the fans, I'm not surprised one bit that that some of them have changed their minds, because some of the fans, especially on social media, just so flippant, aren't they? And you can guarantee in a couple of weeks' time, if we lose to Reading, they'll be like, oh God, how can we lose to Reading, this, that, and the other? And we'll be a little bit upset, I'm sure, if we don't play well. But you can't be one of these fans who keeps flipping from one side to the other. You've either got to back them, or not. And at the moment, you've got every reason to back him.
Absolutely. Connor was actually brought this up that I was going to say to you, Matt, about the speech at the end. But I wasn't expecting it. I don't think anyone was expecting it because we didn't really get that from Casey Stoney much, did we? You know, a speech, you know. Well, what have you made of Marc so far, though? You know, because I know that you out of everybody that has watched women's football on this channel, you know the game better than we do. You know his time, obviously, for when he's at Birmingham. What have you made of his character overall since he's come in?
Yeah, I think like John said, for me, it's. I mean, listen, Marc talks about, doesn't he, building on the foundations what were already there, and it's like John said, it's the overall picture. You know, coming in and winning games is obviously the aim, and it's one part of the job, but looking after, you know, your players, how they are. But another big thing, what got me as well, and I was listening to his interview after the Rangers game, it was very, very complimentary of his coaching staff. And not that Casey didn't do that, because she always talked about it being the team and not her, but it was just nice for Marc to specifically say the coaching staff. And he said, I think his words were, there's a lot of great people behind the scenes putting in the work. And I just thought, do you know what, fair play, because some people come in and they'll take all the credit. Some people will say, oh, it's all the players. But I think Marc's had to bring everybody together. And like you said, there was that negativity, and there was things put out on Twitter by various news outlets and journalists. And I think what Marc's had to do is he's had to come in and galvanize everybody and kind of be like, right, let's assess it. Let's just take a step back. Let's just, you know, assess what's going on. But I think the way he speaks, listen, he's always kind of spoken what I class as like a very good way. And I think that's what makes him sort of relatable and likable. And, you know, Connor says there about, you know, his little speech at the end, that was quality. That was something we never got off Casey. You know, she'd say things on camera and, you know, she would say, well, she spoke, didn't she, and thanked fans after the championship win. But I think just for me, you know, I only caught the last bit on video because I didn't expect him to actually give a little speech like that. But basically the sort of thing from what Marc was saying was, you know, bring this support all season and we'll do you proud. And I thought that was absolutely top class. I really did. Gareth here, make here, galvanised. Did you learn that one? No, mate, that was the one I told you about last week. But no, I think for me, you know, it's just like, you know, like you both said, we might go out and we might get beat against Reading. And obviously, you know, again, I think Vincent said further up, it was only Rangers. And yeah, you know, listen, we're not going to get hyped, obviously, over pre-season, but winning brings confidence, and not only from players' perspective, but fans. And I think, you know, I've always said this, give it time before we judge, you know, and he said it himself, things take time to click. We may get things wrong, fine. Things may click quicker than expected, fine. I think just see what we get. Give the guy a chance, you know. I'm pleased now that people have seen bits and they've liked what they've seen. And, you know, I always said people need to make their own mind up. It's pointless me or Birmingham fans or Orlando fans saying, well, this was great, that was crap. It's like John said, what works at one club doesn't necessarily work at the other. Look now at, like, say, Rafa Benitez at Liverpool compared to Everton. You know, Everton aren't ripping up trees. You know, look at how many times Mourinho's failed at Spurs. He's not doing great at Roma. You know, however, Chelsea back in the day, you know, it was quality. And you can't judge managers off one club. I'm not being funny. I don't care whether his win percentage was 100% or 5%. You know, like I say, what works in one league and for one set of players doesn't necessarily work elsewhere. Different league, different players. This, for me, is the best set of players he's ever managed so far. And I don't care what Orlando fans think. They'll disagree. Cool. But for me, you know, biggest club he'll work at with the best set of players. So I'm just excited now. I think now's the time, you know, just get behind him, see what we get. But yeah, good stuff so far.
Can I just say the players are behind him as well, and that's the most important thing. You can see they're absolutely loving things again. You can see it on the little videos that they're making. You can see the interviews after the game. They don't need to go into the amount of detail that they do by praising him and talking about the new style of play and that they're learning something different. He's talking about the players, about that they're really reacting to what he's saying. There's no need to have these conversations. The questions don't come up like that. He's choosing to say these things, and the players are choosing to say these things as well. So, so it's okay us saying, he's doing well. But the most important thing is that the link between the player and the manager, and at the moment, they're really playing for him, aren't they?
Absolutely.
You're going to post it for your phone for us, John. you won't get told off for copyright, mate.
Well, I've got to find it, haven't I? So you guys talk amongst yourselves.
Well, while you find out, I'll ask a question. Oh, Matt's
going
to ask me something. Go on, mate.
Do you know what it is? He's got that bloody Android. He can't work it. That's what it is. It's never mind. He's copyrighted. He's got one of these Androids. That alone's a crime.
You see that on my Chinese laptop with no pound sign? Okay,
that could be. That could be interesting as well.
I don't know how loud it's going to be, guys, but if it works, then brilliant. So I'm going to play it now. It only lasts about 30 seconds.
It's wonderful energy. Give us all season of what you crowd.
So this is what he's come back for. This wonderful energy, and then what you said, Matt. I don't know if that actually came up.
Something about bringing that every week and they'll do us proud. That was literally like the last 5 seconds I caught, because like I say, it caught me off guard a little bit because I was busy clapping and that, as you do. But Connor, apologies, he is. We rip him for this. That and having his name put on his shoes as well, so I can remember his name, was just two shocking bits of Thursday night.
Not just one pair of trainers, two.
John, you're making it worse. Don't tell us that. You already had me and Benny in hysterics on that.
£7, why not? You know.
I mean,
why not, eh? Why not?
You know what to get him for Christmas now, don't you, Benny? He needs a matching bobble hat.
I've got to get him one of them. Anyway, before we wrap up, I'm going to give my opinion on Marc Skinner. I just think the guy gets Manchester United. Like you said, though, no disrespect to Orlando Pride, but this is the biggest job that he's ever going to have. It's the biggest football club in the world. I said it before, people might say, oh, well, you know, we're going to be going for a few seasons, blah, 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 blah. But no. This is Manchester United Football Club. We're united as one, you know, all equal, all red, and all that lot. So I'm totally behind the guy. I like what he brings, and I like the way the players look more enthusiastic. It's like a weight's been lifted off their shoulders. And I just think it's a good thing for Manchester United going into the season. And I'm glad that he's bringing the coaches in more as well and getting them more involved. And the one criticism I do have of Casey Stoney was I think she was really, really controlling. She was really, it was all her, you know.
Yeah.
Whereas I think Mark's more happy and sharing out responsibilities and just lifting a little bit of the pressure off players' shoulders and that. So give the guy a chance. Give the guy a chance. You know, who knows? We could go in places. You know. And hopefully we'll come home with a trophy this season because I love it. I love a good cup run. You know, we've had 2 great cup runs under Casey, and then last season our cup runs were diabolical. But you know, at least this season we can have a couple of. As we're still in the FA, we still no, we got knocked out and we bollocks. I forgot about that. I do apologise. It's because Matt supports the team that, you know, knocked us out.
So here we go. But blame me. Turn it round. Just rib Gareth as well whilst he's in comments, lad.
Gareth hasn't personalised his boots since he was about 13, John, lad. But he doesn't want us to sit
don't change the subject. Don't change the subjects and put it on John, lad. Dear me, that's poor, Benny. Do your research, lad.
2 FA Cup finals. What's it about now? I know there's 2 FA Cup finals, mate. Yeah, you're right. But we're going to get to a cup final. I don't care if it's the Conti Cup or FA Cup. I just want some silverware. You know, we deserve it. We deserve a good cup run to Wembley. What do you reckon? Good FA Cup run to... I don't know where the Conti Cup final is this season, but wherever that takes place, we'll get it there. And there's a word for people that personalise their shoes and boots and everything. I don't know if my good mate Stu's still in here. Even though it's Copa Mundial, but Stu, what are people that personalise their trainers, the shoes, and or wear all the different colours on? That's right, posers.
He's got his own brand. He's got Copper John Dials. As long as you don't turn up in a full kit, John, it's all good.
Imagine he turned up in a full kit with his personalised shoes.
I don't buy the
all right.
I do have the full training kit. There's a picture
with a full training kit then with his
I do have the full training kit
down his socks and that.
And there we go. I've got your accent in as well for you. Was it John you was asking before?
There you go.
There you go.
There's a picture on my Twitter from a couple of days ago, Stuart, if you want to check them out.
Yeah. Go and check it out, Stu, and just call him a poser.
I mean, that's the polite way of calling it.
Anyway, before I embarrass myself anymore by pretending we're still in competitions that we're not, I think it's best to wrap it up there, unless someone else has got a point they would like to make before we end.
No, other than look at the schedule tomorrow. That's going up. Highlights of the week are also going up tomorrow. Jump on Instagram as well.
I've got one.
John, go next. Take it away, John.
Yeah, just keep an eye on Twitter tomorrow. We're going to have a very short video coming up. You can look forward to next season, or two things you could look forward to next season. And somebody in the comments will be playing a massive part in that as well. So keep your eye on Twitter. I'll tell you what, I'll upload it at midday. So check out Twitter. Yeah, and if you want to play it on Instagram as well, Matt.
Just another thing. Yeah, I will do it on Instagram. Can we mention the new shows or...
No, let's mention it next week. Let's mention it on Monday.
Okay. Yeah. Before I dig myself a hole, then we've got new shows coming up, basically. So keep eyes out and make sure you get behind them. Is all I'll say then. We'll keep it there.
Absolutely. We have got something else to do coming up, but John will explain that as well. Probably on Monday, I think, isn't it, John?
Yeah. We'll go through it all on Monday. We're all on, aren't we? Nat's back with us on Monday. Lots of things scheduled. We've been putting a schedule in place. How do we want to go into the new season? What shows do we want? What shows are right? So we're going to be talking about new manager, new captain, not a new captain, a captain, new vice captain. So we're going to be talking about that coming up as well. We're going to be talking about predictions. We're going to be getting rival fans on the show about what they think of United and their own team. We've got loads coming up, and even something planned for the following Sunday as well. So we have got a few things to keep everyone looking forward to this new season, and we're near there now. We've gone through
2 weeks. Let's go.
Yeah, look, we've gone through 3 months of no games and still going live 6 days a week, which is not bad.
Can I just say on that point though, John, a big thank you to yourself, Natalie, to Matt, to Gareth, even to Anthony, and Amber does a lot of work on the socials as well, for keeping us going through the pandemic when we're not had any games to talk about, while we're waiting for the next season to kick off as well. We've done really, really well. We're really, really proud of you all. So give yourselves a good pat on the back once we go off air. Because you look a bit dodgy if you're going to, do that right now. So a big thank you to these lads for joining me today. As always, Matt, thank you very much, as every week he's with me. John, for his debut today. I'm sorry it took such a long time, mate, but it's nice to have you on.
Man, what a great time for me to make my debut when we've just been to Scotland together and won 5-0. That's all I'm saying.
That's it. It's usually date night, you see, John, Ben. That's why John.
He's
a busy bee now.
Yeah. Yes, pick up the Teletubby son. Yes, for people that don't know, that's Anthony. But yeah, thank you for everybody in the comments for joining us again. Gareth, Stuart, Namrata, all the regulars that are in the comments. And I think I'll wrap it up there before I make a fool of myself anymore by, as I said, pretending we're in competitions we're not. And we shall see you all next week. Take care.